Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 149 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of proving that no matter how messy your family is, at least nobody's trying to overthrow the galaxy. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us, and if you've been enjoying the show, please like, follow, and subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and by joining our Facebook group. I'm Craig Dickinson, and today on the show, we're bringing you the fourth in this year's series of Star Wars conversations with my English classes, and this one features the return of David Jesse from Tatooine Sons.
Just for as well. Hi. So,
Hi.
this is going to be a real big question. I've been thinking about it, but in the Mandalorians, throughout the whole Skywalker saga, who has been the leader? Who was the leader of the Mandalorians?
As far as throughout the entire saga, like who's been like the top leader?
No, like
I think we're gonna.
who is who is the leader of the Mandalorians?
Who's the Mandalore? So the main guy that was called the Mandalore goes all the way back. No, go for it. Okay.
Yeah, the leader, like still through in the Skywalker saga, that's still alive.
A Mandalorian that's still alive. We've got the book. We've got Boba Fett. I mean, Boba Fett's wearing that Mandalorian armor. He's pretty awesome. With that, do you like Boba Fett?
Yeah. But the question I'm trying to say is, who is the leader of the Mandalorians?
I'm not sure. Who do you think the leader of the Mandalorians is? You help me out.
Bo-Katan?
Bo-Katan, yeah. Well, Bo-Katan was one of the big leaders of the Mandalorians, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you go all the way back to the Clone Wars, and you've got like Tar Vizsla, who was the first that had that crafted the Darksaber with that, and that's pretty amazing. But now when you get into the end of the Mandalorian, it kind of feels like Bo-Katan's the leader, for sure.
Huh?
Yeah. Which is your favorite? Is she your favorite Mandalorian?
No.
No, who's your favorite Mandalorian?
That's a real hard one in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Understood. There's a lot of good ones out there. All right, cool.
Captain Kryze.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hey,
What's going on?
good. So my question is, why was Luke so powerful, even though he started the training so late in his life, and he had a very short time where he was doing the training?
It's a really great question. This is a question that is people in Star Wars fandom have been asking for basically almost 50 years now, because he wakes up on, we get him in the original Star Wars in A New Hope, and he doesn't really seem to know anything about the Force. And by the time we get to the end of that movie, he's, blowing up the Death Star. And then when we get to Return of the Jedi, he's this beast, right? Yeah. When he's on Dagobah, there's a theory that the time moves differently on Dagobah because of different physics and the way planets move and things like that, to where where Han and Leia and all of them are off on that mission that they go to Cloud City, which is only taking a few days. You've got Luke on Dagobah, and that may have taken up to 6 months, and he's training that entire time with Yoda on that. That's one, pretty common theory or explanation for that. I think it just comes down to the fact that in the universe, at least from the in-universe story, that he's the son of Anakin Skywalker, man. I mean, Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. I mean, he's got all this amazing force ability in his DNA, in his genes. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you.
How do you think the story would be different if it was told from the Empire's point of view?
Oh, that's a great question. That's the beauty of these characters and Star Wars and Darth Vader and Palpatine and things like that, or the Emperor, if you haven't seen the other movies with this, because the reality with this story is good villains never know they're their own. They never realize they're the villain. They think that they're right. And so if we were to able to flip it, there's actually a book that came out, I want to say about 12 years ago, that's really interesting, that kind of allows you to get that perspective if you're ever looking for something like that. It's called Not Bloodlines. Lost Stars, and it talks about it tells the story. It's actually for kind of young adult readers too. I don't know if you've read it, but it's a young man and a young lady who are growing up in the imperial occupation, you know, that during the time of the empire, and one of them ends up being you know, supporting the empire, and one of them ends up supporting the rebellion, and you get to see that story being told where they both feel like they're coming from it from the right perspective. It's really interesting. And there's some of that in a game that came out a few years ago as well called Battlefront 2, where they start off with, you know, they're working for the empire, and you get it from that perspective. It's really a lot of fun. Yeah, I think it would be really cool to see. You know, it's like what we see in the real world today, right? We've got this political discourse that's so divided, and everybody thinks that they're right. And so the beauty of that question is it shows that you like to see, you know, these stories being able to told, where you can try to understand someone else's perspective. I love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you think would have happened if the Empire just built more Star Destroyers than Death Star?
Oh, that's a great question. It's almost kind of the, you know, I know that the context that Mr. Dickinson gave us was the original trilogy with it. But if you ever go back and you have a chance to watch Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, which is an animated series, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that one, that's kind of Thrawn's perspective, isn't it? In that, where he's kind of like opposed to some extent to Krennic and the Death Star project, and he kind of feels like they need to come up with more of those. I personally think that Thrawn is one of the most amazing characters in all of Star Wars, and I think that Thrawn's perspective is probably would have been the right perspective. Absolutely, they could have continued to keep that iron grip on all these systems a little bit more effectively. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Love the hat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, how do you think someone realizes that they need to become a Jedi?
That's a great question. How does someone realize they need to become a Jedi? Well, in the original trilogy, you know, there's not really anybody there that can do that, right? I mean, Luke is being sort of pulled in. He's being drawn into this story. It's really the Force that's causing him to be pulled into that. And when you get to things like the sequel trilogy, if you ever had, you know, have you watched the sequels with the Rise of Skywalker, you know, all of that? That's sort of what happens with Rey. Right. I mean, Rey is out, she's scavenging and she's doing her own thing, and the Force seems to pull her in with it. And then I'm assuming because you've watched the sequels, you've watched the prequel trilogy as well. Am
Yes,
I correct
I
on
have.
that? Okay, good. All right. So the prequels, it's a very different world, right? In the Clone Wars and things like that, they're actually going and they're conscripting these children. And so people don't have the choice really in that space. I think that it's kind of like in the real world, right? How does anyone find what they're called to do, or what their gifting is, right? And so you just sort of, you try lots of things and you find what attracts you and what grabs you. I've got two sons that are adults now. They're 25 and almost 21, and they've been doing this Star Wars thing with me for their entire lives. And they're very different, right? My oldest son is an engineer, and my youngest son is getting ready to go into the film business, and he wants to do sound editing for films. And so, with the Force, and with the Jedi, I think it's just you find that that's what your gifting calls you to do. You have those abilities, and you continue to develop those abilities, and what pulls you into it. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Why is it important that Luke builds his own lightsaber?
You know, that's a great question. I'd never thought of it from that perspective. Why is it important for Luke to build his own lightsaber? In the Star Wars mythology of it's almost like a rite of passage, right? And so, when you move from a learner to like it's almost like in a schooling situation. Now that's your tool that you're going to be using yourself. So understanding how it's built, personalizing it, making it your own, and then developing and using it as you complete your training is what was done in the prequel area with him in the Jedi Order was in full swing with that. And I think that that's why Luke has to rebuild it. It's sort of where, and there was a scene. I don't know if you did Mr. Dickinson talk to you guys about that or show you that scene? It's a deleted scene. Okay. There's a deleted scene from Return of the Jedi where they were originally, and you can find it on YouTube, where they originally recorded Luke Skywalker building his lightsaber with that. And they were going to open the movie with him doing that before he went to Jabba's palace to save Han Solo. And so I think it's a way of saying he's moved from a student into a master.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If you were in Star Wars, would you be on the dark side or a Jedi?
Oh, I'm a Jedi. I mean, I'm sitting here wearing a crazy Darth Vader shirt because the Sith and Vader and Darth Maul and all of them are super cool with it. But at the same time, I think that the Jedi and when the Jedi are their best version of themselves is what I think all of us should strive to be. So,
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. In Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope, do you think Han Solo was more motivated by money or loyalty to the rebels?
I think it changes. I think that, and I don't know if it's necessarily the rebels that it changes too. So let me answer that. In A New Hope, Han is in it for Han, right? Han is in it to get money. Han is in it to finish the taking Luke and Ben to where they got to be so he can get paid and get all this money. And then he leaves in A New Hope because he gets paid with it. But then that shift happens where he comes back in to save the day during the Death Star attack on the Battle of Yavin. And he comes in and he saves Luke with it. And I don't think it's necessarily the rebellion as much in that moment as it is the friendships that he feel the connection he feels with Luke and with Leia. And I think that that's what drives the story specifically in Empire Strikes Back. And then I think after they come and save him in Return of the Jedi to continue it on, when they come to save him in Return of the Jedi, they give up everything to save him, or they're willing to. I think that solidifies it. And I don't know if Han is ever really about the rebellion or the Republic as much as it is about the people that he cares about. It's one of the things I love about Han.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Which character do you think had the biggest redemption?
So in just the original trilogy or in all of Star Wars and
The original.
just the original trilogy, the biggest redemption. I mean, it's the easy answer would be Anakin or Vader. I mean, I think that, but I like the fact that you're thinking that there's more redemption in there. Who are some of the other people that you feel like it may have had redemption arcs in that trilogy?
Probably Luke, because he started off
Yeah, it's interesting because Luke's my favorite Jedi in the films with it, and I'm a big fan of the version we get in The Last Jedi even with it. And one of the reasons is because I don't see Luke as being sort of the perfect Jedi. I see him as a flawed Jedi, and I think that we see that in Return of the Jedi where he's lashing out at Vader. Especially when Vader starts to say, just talk about going after Leia with that, but then he pulls himself back, and we get that same thing happening in The Last Jedi to some extent. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What themes of good versus evil are most prominent in the saga?
The whole saga or the original trilogy only? Which one?
The original trilogy.
Original trilogy only. What themes of? Give me the question again, then.
What themes of good versus evil are most prominent?
Yeah. I think it's just layers of good versus evil. I mean, obviously you've got the rebellion versus the empire. You've got sort of, freedom versus fascism that's in there with that. But then you've got that personal struggle with Luke that we just talked about where Luke is struggling with who he is and how he's going to be in this, which direction he's going to go down. And you have Vader Anakin struggling to come back from a place where his darkness is there. And all of those are different battles between good and evil within it. So you've got this big galactic struggle within good and evil. And then you've got these personal struggles with good and evil. And I think that's one of the things that's so powerful about Star Wars is it allows us to tell these big stories that are about these big galactic struggles, but really it's a personal story. And it's something that teaches us about the struggle that we have to go through on a daily basis. Are we going to be good, or are we going to be evil in the way that we live our lives? It's really good.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you think would happen if Luke joined as Vader?
What if Luke joined Vader? I think that Vader would have been destroyed. I think that Palpatine, that the Emperor, would have been able to end Vader, and I think Luke would have probably been the reason that happened. And then I think that what the Emperor was always looking for was the perfect, fully organic version of a Force wielder to be his apprentice. And when Anakin had fallen and become this half cyborg robot type version of it, he was always looking for someone to supplant that, and that would have been Luke. And it would have been a very dark future for the Star Wars galaxy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the most important message of the trilogy?
Wow. That it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about, that struggle within Luke. Choosing good versus evil and choosing the good within you, even when rage, even when anger, even when fear, all of those things. That's the Yoda, stuff that he teaches Luke. And so you can always choose to be the best version of yourself. And then also redemption is always available with it. And that's the beauty between Luke and Vader in this, because as dark and as evil as Vader had become, Luke always saw that he could choose the good. And he ended up doing that at the end.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What makes the Empire feel powerful and scary?
Yeah. It kind of goes back to an earlier question. They believe they're right. It's not evil just to, like being this bad. They choose to be evil. Everyone involved in the Empire thinks that they're doing the right thing. And they're going about it in such an evil way, and they think that evil is justified, and that allows them to do things that are absolutely horrible as a result of that, thinking they're doing the right thing.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't Luke kill Vader when he can?
Because he knows that there's good in his father. Right. And he knows that if he kills Vader and justifies that kind of goes back to even the previous question, right? If he justifies killing Vader because it's the right thing in his mind, then he becomes Vader.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Why is the Death Star such a strong symbol?
It's ultimate destruction, right? I mean, there's no overcoming it, right? If you're on Alderaan, or if you've seen Rogue One, if you're on Jeddah, or one, if you're on the battle on Yavin in A New Hope, or Endor in Return of the Jedi, and you see that's no moon moment, right? You see the moon up there, and you realize that it's a space station that with one decision they can obliterate an entire planet. Then you have no choice but to succumb to the fascism, the empire that's seeking to destroy you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Was Luke right to leave his training early?
Wow, it's an attachment question in reality, right? Because he chooses his friends,
Mhm.
he chooses his attachments, he chooses love over what his master wants him to do, and in the end, it causes a lot of heartache and a lot of destruction, but they win, and so um, I'm going to say yes. I think he did. I think choosing the people in your life that are important and doing what's best for them
Yeah.
is always the right choice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
If you could spend a whole day hanging out with any Star Wars character, who would it be and what would you do?
What would I do? I am a huge fan of Kanan Jarrus. In all of the Star Wars world, Kanan Jarrus from Star Wars Rebels is one of my absolute favorites. And hanging out with Kanan, I would hang out with Kanan if I could go back into the timeline, into a specific part of the story at some point when he's with the Ghost crew in Star Wars Rebels, and I would just sit there and have him make fun of Ezra and Zeb and Sabine. That's what I would do.
Thank you.
In a fun way.
What do you think the Force really represents?
Wow. The pull to the best version of yourself, right? Learning to be truly good and to care. And that's one of the things that is so challenging about the Force in the prequels, is because it becomes something less than that. And that's why they end up falling. The Jedi Order falls.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Why do you think it's so hard for them to stay on the good side, like Anakin?
Same reason it's hard for all of us, right? We're selfish. We want what's ours. We have fear, right? I mean, that's the beauty of Star Wars, right? It's truly just a mythology that teaches us about the very struggles that we all face every single day. Are we going to give into fear? Are we going to give into anger? Are we going to give it into hate? And what that all leads to. And even when we think it's the right thing to do, that's Anakin in the prequels. With that, he's trying to save Padme and save his mother and all of these things with it. And so in Star Wars, that pull is to selfishness, and it's harder. It's always harder to do the right thing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't Yoda want to train Luke at first?
It's a great question. It's perceptive too, because most people forget that Yoda rejects Luke's training in the what he tells Ben Kenobi or Obi-Wan Kenobi is that he's too old, which I think is an excuse. I think that there could potentially be fear in Yoda. I think that he's fear. What if I fail? It's easier to just say we can't train him, and this is just the way it's going to be with it. And I think that he's afraid of what Luke could become if Luke gives up early. That's why the question earlier about leaving early from the training is so good, because what if he doesn't complete his training and he doesn't know how to be the Jedi that he can be? Is that going to actually cause him to fall to the dark side with it? And I think those are all the fears. Yoda is maybe 900-year-old Jedi, but he still struggles with fear like we all do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Hey.
So sometime in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Luke seems to have earned himself like a green lightsaber, which I've heard is for like the Master Jedi only. What did he do to earn that color? What did he do to earn it?
That's a great question. And when I was your age, man, that's the kind of way we thought about those lightsabers. Everybody thought, the green lightsaber was more powerful and it was a higher level lightsaber than the blue lightsaber. And that was the way that we grew up. And what we find out is that those colors are a little less based on skills and things like that, and more of, or yeah, based on like not based on achievement, but much more based on sort of personal preferences and the style of things that you do. And so I think that Luke is trying to, I think he chooses to use a green bladed lightsaber because Luke is choosing to differentiate himself from his father, that when he finds out in episode 5 that Darth Vader is his father, and that lightsaber that he had, the blue one, was his father's. He's trying to separate himself and say, I'm not going to be like my father.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
What is it exactly that makes the Empire a good villain?
The fact that they think that they're right, that they think that they're doing the right thing, that that order and control and the rule of law is the ultimate good in the universe, and anything that goes against what their pattern is wrong. And so that's what makes them such a powerful villain, because we see that all the time around us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So as we close, we just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, subscribe, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. This helps the show out tremendously, absolutely helps us reach more people. And one last thing, our next episode continues our Star Wars 101 series with special guest Jeff McGee.